It's a blessing to welcome on former top recruit for Oregon. He was a top 75 ranked player and a four-star. He's now returned back home from his mission and will be attending Oregon now this upcoming season. Isaac Johnson, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. Well, you got to take us through this. We know it's been a hectic, chaotic journey now. You obviously went through a mission. You're coming back to play basketball for Oregon as a 21-year-old freshman. But just take us through how you're feeling. I know you're back on campus, so what's like being out there and how you feeling right now?
I'm excited to be here. Obviously, like you said, coming in, going to be turning 21 this summer. So through the season, you're going to be a 21-year-old freshman, a little bit older.
Mhm.
But I'm so excited to be here. The guys are all great guys. The program is really amazing. The coaching is amazing, and it is beautiful in Eugene.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get a lot into Oregon, what you're excited for, the team and all that in a little bit. But as I mentioned, this has been a long journey to get to this point. You've moved a lot around growing up, but I just want to discuss your journey to get to this point. So let's head all the way back. I know you're originally from Oregon. Just take us to like what was like growing up out there?
Yeah. So I was originally born and raised in Nissa, Oregon,
Mhm.
which is a super small farming town, like 3,100 people in Eastern Oregon, right on the border of Idaho. And um, growing up, it was the top two things in Nissa are sporting events and farming. Uh, so I've carried kind of both of those in my heart. I just kind of have a little bit of a love for a little bit of Western stuff as well as basketball. So I got two older brothers, and just playing with them growing up all throughout kind of helped me develop that love, I think, for both of them. And then come third grade, my dad, who also served a mission for the LDS Church, decided uh, because his mission was in Spain. And so he decided that he wanted us to be able to have an experience like regular people don't have. And so, as an elementary school principal, he decided to go job searching with Department of Defense schools through the military. And so we were still civilians technically, but he became the elementary school principal for a U.S. Army base in Germany. So that was super amazing. Got to live there. We lived about 20 minutes off of the base and had a really cool drive every day to school, and got a lot of culture in my early life of Europe and traveling, being able to form a love for that as well, and just being able to appreciate people and their differences and what all makes us the same. And then after we were there for 2 years, we decided to move back to the United States, and we moved to Roseburg, Oregon. And I was there for fifth and sixth grade,
Mhm.
and I loved it there. I think that probably has a little bit feeds into a little bit of why I decided to come back. One of my best friends, their family were always big Ducks fans, and so they would always ask me, "Ducks or Beavers?" And I was like, "I don't know. I guess I'm a platypus, but hey, we figured it out. Eventually, we're here."
Mhm.
And going up after I finished sixth grade, um, my obviously my grandparents were getting a little older, and my family decided to move centralized, and so we chose to move to American Fork, Utah,
Mhm.
which I seventh grade through graduation. And I think Utah probably had the biggest impact on my life, with friends wise, and obviously basketball wise as well. The opportunities that I had through my club team and my high school, I honestly could not have asked for a better journey to get me where I'm at now, um, for sure.
No, I feel like for a lot of people, remembering back like pretty detailed to kind of day-to-day life in a way from sixth grade below isn't the most familiar. You might have some memories here or there, but not a lot of people have had the journey you had. Like you said, you've gone from America to Europe, back to America, all before you moved to middle school. So how like clear do you remember it all? Like how impactful was that for you? And just walk us through like, just how much really helped develop who you are today from all the traveling you did as a young kid?
That's a really good question. I think it has really helped me to. Um, I I think it's really helped me to appreciate people from all over the world,
Mm.
um, because there's a lot of immigrants all over Europe as well. And so when we'd meet people from all these different cultures, especially with the military too,
Hmm.
you meet people from all over the place. And when the base goes kind of empty because they go on deployment, it becomes like a big little family where you have to just kind of stick up for each other, and everything feels kind of empty and there's a lot of loneliness there. Um, but it was really cool to be able to see people come together as Americans from all over, no matter what their race, no matter what their religion, no matter what was going on. But then also my trips all over Europe were so cool. We took any opportunity we could to take a trip. So, like for example, sometimes on the weekends we'd drive to Paris because that was 2 hours away from my house. Um, or one spring break, we decided to go visit where my dad served his mission in Spain. And so we were there in Spain, and I actually remember pretty vividly. We were set to fly out the next morning, and we were eating at an Indian restaurant in Spain. And then the volcanoes in Iceland erupted, which meant that we had to take a 16-hour bus ride back to Germany instead of our plane flight. And just all sorts of different things that were so unique. But they've helped me, I think, connect with a lot of different people um, because I had that in my early childhood. And I don't think it's something that anybody would usually pray for or hope for as a
Hmm.
kid growing up. But I think through that non-stability in my childhood kind of helped me to be able to grow and love people no matter who they are, where they come from now.
Now, at the end of the day, obviously, we're here because you've become a great basketball player. You're going to be attending Oregon and you're going to become a great player out there. But we know a lot of guys like growing up, this game has always been a part of their life. It's been something day in, day out. It's kind of been ingrained in them. Like how you've kind of learned, how did you develop into the player you are today with all this traveling? Like, was it something you did throughout Europe when you're growing up in Utah or in Oregon? Like, when did you really start falling in love with the game of basketball?
That is a really good question as well. Um, so I would say probably my freshman year
Mhm.
was a big turning point for me. Um, I had gone to different summer camps and things like that all throughout eighth grade. And so the summer before freshman year, I was still kind of technically an eighth grader, kind of a freshman. I received my first two college scholarships to Utah State and to Southern Utah University.
Mhm.
Um, and I still didn't really love the game. I knew I was good, but that didn't mean necessarily that I would choose that over going to hang out in the summer with friends. Um, but I think my freshman year, my brother was a senior. We also had another player. My brother plays at BYU. We also had another player who was going to play at Marquette, and there were five other seniors. And so, me being a high ranked freshman with some college offers, and um, arguably probably like the third most skilled guy on the team, um, it was really frustrating because those other guys had a lot more experience. They were a lot more athletically developed. And my freshman year, I wanted to quit. Even though I had two college scholarships and was on the verge of picking up BYU and University of Utah as well, I was done because I hadn't really faced adversity up to that point. And so my parents sat me down. My parents are really influential and really helpful for me being where I'm at. I appreciate how they parented me and how they dealt with me a lot throughout the years. But they sat me down and they said, "You don't have to play basketball if you don't want to, but you're going to do something because we want you to feel good about the things that you can do." And so that was really cool. And so obviously, I kind of was like, you know what, fine, I'm already good. I might as well stick with it. So I think after my freshman year, after I made that decision, we had a critical conversation, and I decided that if I was going to stick with it, I might as well learn to enjoy it. So that's when I think I started taking it more seriously, and I started developing the love for the game.
And you also were able to grow up in a unique family too. Like we hear sometimes these stories of families that are just full of athletes that played different sports, sometimes even just one sport specifically. But like your
Uh-huh.
dad played collegiately. Your mom had an offer. I don't believe she ended up playing, but she still had a chance to go play collegiately if she wanted to. you mentioned Spencer. He's obviously out there playing at BYU. We've had another brother that had an offer to play. I know like your whole family basically top to bottom has been involved in this game, has been able to play at the next level if they wanted to or not. So growing up in that atmosphere, like what was that like?
I gotta be honest, you've done your research. This is really impressive. Um, it was really cool for me. I think growing up, because I was the third brother,
Hmm.
I got the most benefit from it. Because my first brother in high school, my parents, my dad was recruited from high school.
Hmm.
Those really such thing as traveling teams very often. So my parents' view of how a college recruits you is you just take your film and edit it and send it into a college and hope that they offer you. And the AU circuit or anything like that wasn't really an idea. We had no clue until my second brother Spencer. When we moved to Utah, actually when we lived in Roseburg, they had a little team in Portland that he would run with. And then when we moved to Utah, he started playing with UBC, Utah basketball. And from there, we saw what basketball could be. Whereas a lot of kids who just play high school have no idea what really goes on behind the scenes, no matter how good they feel that they may be, who the other kids around the country are. And so, as I was able to go to those tournaments and watch him play, and then have the opportunities as well to attend camps, and luckily be privileged enough to get on those good teams. It was really an eye opener for me, but I was also very grateful for two brothers who would never take it easy, um, a mom who would never take my complaints and never take my little excuses and try to get out of stuff, and for a dad who was very patient with me, and just an overall very supportive family. I'm very grateful for the way that they raised me, and it shows a lot, I think, and I hope, in how I live and carry myself now. So they're a massive aspect of why I'm here, and I really, really appreciate my family.
You got to go a little bit into your battles within the family. Like, I can imagine you guys have played some King of the Court back in the day, even currently. I'm sure you guys have played one-on-one, maybe if you and Spencer or any of them. What are those games like? And just take us through a family night when you guys go out there and play a King of the Court one-on-one. Like, what do those games look like?
Well, I have not played against Spencer since I got home from my mission,
Hmm.
because, and actually, probably since he left on his mission. So since I was a freshman, because otherwise my dad would have to be out there being a ref and making sure that nobody was going to get some double technicals and kicked out. it was it was very, very competitive. My oldest brother, I would say, is a little bit more justice of the peace kind of a guy.
Hmm.
He's a very even tempered guy, and Spencer and I are a little bit more fiery. So it's always competitive, but super, super fun. Sundays would usually be the day when we'd go do some horse in the front lawn, or pig, and just have different shooting competitions and just have fun with it. But I think incorporating basketball into our everyday life, and not just in the competition mode where we had to go to a court, but actually making it fun, was a cool bonding experience for my family as well. So it was always very competitive, but it definitely spurred us on in the love for the game.
Now, I'm not sure if schedules ever will align, rather be in college or some other time down the road and different professional wise or whatnot. But if you and Spencer do end up matching up against each other at any point, what would those games be like?
This November in the Moda Center in Portland, BYU and University of Oregon are playing. I'm pretty
Mm.
sure that's like set. So I'm excited for that. And um, I hope this doesn't come off cocky, but I'll dunk on him. No, he's a really good defender. He showed that a lot this last season, and in this offseason, he's getting a lot more confident in his offensive side. We saw that a lot in high school, but I think when we play, I don't know if we're ever going to guard each other. We switch a lot, so that might be a possibility. Um, but I think it's just going to be a lot of love. Um, I appreciate him. He's a really good mentor and role model to me. But when you step on the court, family is family for sure still, but I got to win a game.
So I know you mentioned that you always had to have your dad out there to referee a game or something. Is there any chance that we could see both of you guys or one of you two get a technical if you guys did play each other for extended time?
No, no, no. There's no bad blood like that. No, it's always a ton of love, and there's gonna be no cheap shotting like that. Not with too many cameras on us.
Absolutely, man. Well, I want to go back a couple of different things about you growing up, especially going out to Germany for a little bit, because like I said, that's obviously a huge time. It's something that ultimately not many guys get the opportunity to do. So when you think about your time spent out there, the 2 years, like what's your favorite memory? Like what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about your time out there?
Um, I would say just all the cool places I got to go visit. With there were, oh man, Spain, Italy, England, Belgium, Normandy, um, Brussels, obviously France, different places throughout Germany, all these different places that were so almost magical. Like from just a kid coming from a farming town in in dirt middle of nowhere, Oregon, you know, to places where kings and knights and princesses and queens lived and ruled. It was like a childhood kind of fairy tale to be able to run around old castles and just have like such a cool experience with that. Like Europe is amazing.
Mhm.
So cool to see the history and um, just make connections with people, um, and just see that no matter where we're from and what languages we speak and what things we practice and do in our everyday life, that people are people. So it was really, really, really amazing. I will definitely go back and visit if I can.
Now, I think every kind of person, no matter what kind of walk of life you're in, kind of takes pride in where they're from, where their roots are. And I know, especially in the athletics, where like everyone always talks about where they're from and all that details and stuff. But you've had all these different places. Obviously, you're born and kind of raised in Oregon. You became who you are in terms of your basketball self and developed into who you are today as the player we see you as in Utah. You spent 2 years out in Germany. Like, where do you kind of identify from? Like, where would you say like your hometown? Like, where do you represent if you have chosen one?
Yeah. Um, I think because my family now actually lives back in Nissa. So when I graduated high school, went on my mission, literally 2 days after I left on my mission, they moved again. So, um, but um, I think if I were to be a starter and they were listing the starting lineup,
Mhm.
as I graduated from American Fork, Utah, and because I think Utah affected me most culturally in my life,
Mhm.
uh, I think I would just claim American Fork, Utah. Um, but I still got to stay true to my people from Nissa for sure.
I
But
have to ask you one thing. It kind of jumps a little bit ahead, but I need it to be the next question after this. So we haven't seen you yet in terms of exact measurements, height wise, weight wise, since you obviously left high school. So where are you at now? I know before you were about 6'11", 220-ish. Like where do you stand at height wise now and weight wise?
yeah, that's actually kind of funny. I always listed myself in high school at 220, but I
Mhm.
was sitting at 195, 200. But now I'm sitting still at 6'11, just on the verge of 7 foot with basketball shoes, 7 foot.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sitting about 225, 230. So my mission, when I went on my mission, that was a really big um, opportunity, I think selfishly, to allow my body to mature
Mhm.
in a basketball standpoint. That is one reason that I'm really grateful that I went on my mission, because it just allowed me to be able to um, be bigger and be more mature. And I can even kind of grow some facial hair now too. So
And being that tall, that's obviously not the typical height for a lot of guys. Even in the basketball world, you're more towards the top taller guys out there. So were you always kind of a taller guy? Like were you always like above the height of everyone? Was it a big growth spurt, a couple big growth spurts? Like how have you grown into your body? Kind of take us through the growth of you throughout your life so far.
yeah, I think I was always one of the tallest kids in my class.
Hmm.
My dad is 6'6". My mom is 6'2".
Hmm.
Um, So my brothers are 6'4", 6'5", and my younger sister is 6'5".
Hmm.
He's six, crazy. But I've always been one of the tallest in my class. I think sixth grade, I hit 6 foot.
Hmm.
Uh, Seventh grade, I was 6'2", 6'3". And then eighth grade, I passed my dad, 6'6". Ninth grade, I was about 6'9". And then 10th grade, 6'10". And then junior and senior year, I was about 6'11", 7 foot. So just gradually consistent with being a giant.
That's what I thought too. I mean, I wasn't quite exactly positive how tall Spencer was, but I didn't think he was that tall. So obviously, not having your sister even pass them up, how have they handled that? I mean, you're not obviously them, so you probably don't know exactly their train of thought, but what do you think his reaction is when he sees that you're got 6 inches or so on him, and even his sister's not passing him up?
um, we when we have seen each other since, he's used to it. I was
Mhm.
taller than him when he was a senior and I was a freshman. I was actually one of the taller guys on the team, but we don't publicly say that she's taller than him. So, Spencer, if you're watching this, she's definitely not taller than you.
So how were you able to grow into that? Because that couldn't have always been easy on your body, especially growing, like you said, about 6'5" ish, already heading into high school. Like, how'd your body adjust to that?
um, I know I remember growing up, like early elementary school, I had growing pains for sure in my legs and things like that. Um, and then even like you can see, I've got stretch marks
Hmm.
like that just grew so fast that it looks like a tiger, kind of just like scratched my back on both sides. But it, I think one thing that I'm really grateful for is that I was able to keep my coordination, which
Hmm.
is really unique, I think, for guys of my size. Is that as I grew, I still was able to keep. I never really had an awkward phase.
Hmm.
Um, and something I think that really helped me that way is my parents always trained me and my brothers to be point guards,
Hmm.
um, to be able to handle the ball if necessary, no matter what our height would be. So I think that's something that has really helped progress my game a lot. Something that I utilized in high school to be able to get a rebound and take it the length of the court if need be. But um, I count it as a big blessing, count it as a really big blessing that I never really had an awkward face and I was able to just adjust to being a tall guy. Well,
Now, I know heading into high school, you had a big, your first offer came into play. You went to a camp in California, you did your thing out there, and you walked with that Utah State offer. That's not the typical age for a lot of guys getting a D1 scholarship. That's a dream that comes in maybe freshman year for some guys, sophomore, junior year more likely, and then senior year, that's when we see a lot of them come in. But what was your reaction when that came in? Just take us through going into high school already as a Division I player.
I I didn't believe it.
Hmm.
Um, like see myself as the college guy. Something I think that was really unique about where I lived in Utah, as opposed to the rest of the country, is um, high school players aren't, I don't want to say like glorified, but all almost held on a little pedestal for their athletic abilities. So I think all throughout high school, I even tried to feel like I had to gain recognition because I was an elite athlete, and I didn't really ever see myself as um, like that was a reality. I didn't even think that what would come of it. And so walking away with an offer, full ride scholarship as an eighth grader, going into my freshman year, was something that was really amazing. But I think it was also a big blessing because it helped me to be able to play in the rest of my AAU tournaments and in high school without that pressure of feeling like I have to perform to make my future worth something. It really took a big load off that I had my education paid for and that I could just go and play as me. And I think that helped me out a lot because then I was able to go and play as me and not have to fit anybody's script, and that really, I think, caught the attention of a lot of other coaches throughout the country. So it was like a really cool thing, but I didn't really recognize how big that was, especially as probably the third best program in the top three programs in Utah. So it was really cool.
As you brought up a little bit ago, you head into your freshman season and you ultimately even were close to possibly stopping playing the game of basketball. You really were down low in your freshman season. So when would you say it started clicking for yourself? Like when did you start feeling that, okay, I feel like I am one of the better players every time I step on that court. And at the same time, too, like I truly feel confident in myself. Like I feel like I'm one of those good players and I'm one of the top guys out there. Like when would you say that all kind of came together for you?
Senior year,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, well, there were games throughout my sophomore year as well, that I played confident. Like I remember my first game, actually, my first starting game in high school. I went 6 for 7 from three, and I just had all the confidence in the world. I don't know where it came from, but that was a really big season. But I think I didn't really grow into my confidence and what I could be until my senior year, because I would probably pay the most credit to one, an amazing head coach in Ryan Cuff, um, who was able to help us develop as a team, and to my summer um, AAU team. Those coaches worked with me a lot, and being able to play on the Adidas circuit against some amazing competition, it really helped me to be able to realize what I could be, because I saw these other guys that were blowing up and having cool mixtapes all over social media and getting thousands of followers and verified as sophomores.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to play them and score in the 20s and do like quietly. I don't know why whenever I've scored, it's always been kind of quiet. And then I just kind of come out the end of a game with like 20. But it was really cool to be able to develop, especially in those two ways. I pay a lot of that credit to a good coaching staff my senior year of high school, as well as a great AAU program.
I've already discussed some of these years so far throughout high school, but just to kind of go over them a little bit. So you obviously your freshman year, you go out there, like you said, you struggled some, but you got to be around your brother. You got to be around a couple of the Division I guys. And ultimately, this leads to your sophomore, junior, and then your senior year. Also, get a state championship in 2019. Like, take us through this whole high school journey a little bit. Like, take us through some of the ups and downs, and ultimately being able to leave high school as not only just a committed player, but also a guy that won a state championship.
Yeah. So my freshman year, obviously, I talked about being a little bit discouraged because the level of eighth grade to varsity was so much different. As
Mm-hmm.
a 6'9", 170-pound child, I was just like a walking beanstalk. Um, it was very frustrating for me because I couldn't do what I had been able to do in those little middle school tournaments. And then moving up, my body developed a little bit. I got a nutritionist in between my um, in between my freshman and sophomore year, and also in between my sophomore and junior year, to just load as many calories as I could get every single day. So during the season, I would have, so my junior year season, I would eat between 6 and 8,000 calories a day to maintain my weight, because my metabolism was crazy. And I was just trying to compete with these guys that were a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout the whole journey, I would say frustrating, very frustrating. I never played in the tournament until my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that freshman year, I played behind some sophomores, some juniors, and 7 seniors. My sophomore year, we were we had some talent, but we didn't really click, I think, as a group. My junior year was a lot the same. I think my sophomore year we won 5 games, and my junior year we won 6. That's and that helped me to be able to progress as a leader. I think to realize what needed to be done to be able to help people gel and grow together, to actually like each other as teammates, so that we could really be a team and not just a bunch of individuals on a basketball court with the same jersey. And that obviously came into play my senior year. Ryan Cuff, who had been, he'd won state championships at Lone Peak as the head coach, as well as Dixie, which is in St. George. And so he's the only coach in Utah high school history to have won a state championship at 3 different schools as a head coach, which is amazing. Super, super amazing. And he came in and said, "You have not won a state championship in 40 years. This program has not won a state championship in 40 years, 1979. And we're like, oh, that's kind of hefty. Like, we didn't ever really realize that or talk about it before. But ever since the beginning of my senior season, he always made sure to stress state champions. A league champion is cool. That's really fun, kicks and giggles. But nobody's really going to care about a little banner that's just going to hang in a trophy case on the side of a wall. And nobody's, because there's a few of those other throughout the years that those are small little things, and they're a cool little memoir. But from day one, he stressed state champions, and we had a lot of personalities and a lot of talent, but we needed to come together as a team. And so Trey Stewart, who is our point guard, he's going to play at BYU. Tanner Cuff, who is my coach's son, he's going to play at Salt Lake Community College. Hayden Franson, he was our other 6'8" starting. He is going to play for Snow College. I'm playing at Oregon. And then we had a freshman starting as well. Really good athlete. And he's a multi-sport. He has multiple offers, I think, in basketball and football. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of talent. We had, I think, also 6 seniors. But the way that the coaching staff came in and really kind of put their foot down and said, any culture that we have in here is toxic, we're getting rid of. So, like, for example, we went so far as to even get completely new jerseys, completely new sweatsuits, completely new backpacks. We just wiped everything out because those were losing uniforms. Those were losing backpacks. Those were losing sweatsuits. We got new basketballs because those were losing basketball. Like, we went everything and marked it down so that we were winners from day one. And so throughout that progression, it taught me a lot about how to be a leader. And then that senior year really put it into play, I think, for all of us. And it was a really special experience to be able to, at the end of the day, come home with that trophy and with some hardware. I couldn't have asked for a better ending. That's for sure.
And that's a very critical thing to basketball, is that winning mentality, understanding how to win. And we see that every single level you go to. You're going to see at college, obviously, you can put together whatever record season you want to have. If you don't make it to the tournament or you don't advance in the tournament, it's not necessarily completely a successful story for most programs. Then you go to the NBA, even the best players, we always hear guys like James Harden. We've heard guys about all these different players that don't win a championship, don't make it to there. It's kind of hindering the legacy a little bit. And like you said, you guys struggled for the first couple of years, and then all of a sudden coach comes in, changes everything about you guys and teaches you that winning mentality. So how critical was that for you now? Like, if you didn't come into your life, like, where do you think you'd be today?
I don't know if I would be here.
Mm-hmm.
I had the offer from Oregon from my summer season, before he came into the picture. But I think being able to see that winning mentality and see how much that actually meant versus being an individual with the same jersey as the other dudes on my team, I think taught me a lot. And I don't know if I would be here. Mm-hmm. I am really grateful for him, and we still stay in contact. His son, actually Tanner Cuff, got home from his mission yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so it was cool. I was able to call him, and we were reminiscing a little bit about, the good old days and all that. And so it was really cool. that he came in and was able to change that, I think, for a lot of us. And man, there was just a lot that was going on behind the scenes that didn't need to be there. And so that was really cool I think you grow a lot of respect and love when you have somebody who doesn't take any crap. They just don't take any excuses because there's no point to have them there. And so I really respect him a lot for how he came in and how he operates.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk a little bit of Oregon right now, leading up to where you obviously commit to an Oregon, then we're hitting your mission. But you obviously go through this process, as you just said. Like, you have all these offers on the table. You then narrow it down to eventually a top four that involve Utah, BYU, Ohio State, Oregon. Take us through this process. So, like, how'd you narrow it down to those four schools, and why are those the final schools in the running for you?
That was a great question. I obviously BYU. That's like every LDS kid's dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I might as well explore my options there as an LDS kid who was looking to go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State. I just had a really, really great relationship with that assistant coach. And I think the relationship that he built with me caused them to be in the top four. He was a great recruiter, as well as Coach McKenna, who is my assistant coach here, who is also my recruiter here. I think those are the two colleges that I had the best relationship with. And obviously, I'm Christian. I also believe in the Holy Spirit and things like that. And so as I went on my visit to Ohio State, when I got to campus, I hadn't really talked about this openly, but when I got to campus, I got a little bit of a spiritual feeling that kind of just like resonated in my soul. And it was, this is not your place. And we'll get a little bit to that later. This is not your place. And so I was like, okay, I guess, well, maybe we'll figure out why, maybe we won't.
Mm-hmm.
I had a fun weekend, but I knew to listen to that feeling. And then as I went on my visits to University of Utah and to University of Oregon, BYU was going to be my last visit. And so I was really impressed with the Pac-12 and with both of those coaching staffs. And BYU Coach Rose came to my house a few days before my official visit at BYU. And they kind of just sat down and they're like, be honest with us. Is there a point in you coming this weekend? I was like, honestly, no. I really, really like the Pac-12, the competition that it brings. I don't think I told them that, but I was just like in the back of my mind. And we just had a really good conversation and I loved it, that they were able to come and ask that openly. And I was able to communicate like an adult. And then we just had like a 10-minute conversation in our front room and off they went. And it actually ended up being really helpful because Coach Rose wasn't even there next season. Coach Pope got hired.
Mm-hmm.
And so then between University of Utah and University of Oregon, those were two really, really tough decisions for me. Both Pac-12, both universities would use me in a similar way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I would have a very similar impact in both places. Obviously, University of Utah would have more of that social life that I am used to. Mm-hmm. Obviously, influenced growing up in Utah, as well as looking to continue on with life, with progressing church, and hopefully looking for a spouse. Utah would have been more of that fit, but I knew that I was there to play basketball, and get that free education. And there's church here too. And so when I came on my visit here, we toured the church that was here, and we were able to meet some of the attendees and some of the members of the church family here, as well as the leaders. And I never really vibed also with Under Armour. And so coming, seeing how impressive all this Nike, everything was really awesome. I got to meet Phil Knight when I was on my visit here. And I think just a tipping point for me was Coach Altman, that relationship that I had with Coach McKenna. And it turned out to be really amazing, even as I went on my mission. Every single week, I either had a phone call or an email with them. So on our missions, we are only allowed to communicate once a week with our family and with friends back home. And every single week, without, I think, exception, I either had an email or a phone call, which was amazing. I don't know. I haven't really heard any other stories about any other guys and their coaches being that dedicated and diligent with that. Even my brother, he said the school who had originally recruited him had sent him 2 emails his whole 2 years, and each of them were just on his birthday. So he was blown away by how well these coaches were able to adapt to me being on my mission, and now as I'm coming back, adapt to the changes that come with that. So I think I am pretty positive I made the right choice with being here.
Obviously, both Utah and Oregon, as we talked about earlier, were home feelings. You could stay home, or theoretically you moved to home, but it's still basically a home where you kind of grew up, you have family out there. So was that any kind of importance to you, like being able to stay near family, somewhere in the area of family? Did that feed into your recruiting process at all?
I think a little bit. I think
Mhm.
growing up all over helped me to be able to be okay with going anywhere.
Mhm.
Um, my I had a few, so like I had from USC all the way to Wake Forest over in North Carolina. So I had basically the whole spread um, across the country. And I am comfortable because of the way that I grew up moving around. I'm comfortable living anywhere. If the situation is right for me, and if that is God's plan, then I'm going to do it. Um, and so I think that was really beneficial for me to be able to choose whatever program would be best for me, um, athletically, as well as academically and off the court with friends and all sorts of different connections as well.
Absolutely. We're going to wrap up discussing Oregon this upcoming year, but this is where you obviously have created a unique journey on. I haven't got to have an LDS guy on yet to kind of discuss this yet. So kind of walk us through this whole thing, because from the public that's not really familiar with the Mormon faith, that's not really familiar with all the stuff that goes on with the mission stuff, some people might say, well, you're a top 100 prospect. You have the size, potentially could play in the NBA, obviously in the future. You have a commitment to Oregon. Like, why would you want to take 2 years away? Why would you want to not be able to go keep pursuing your basketball dream? So kind of just walk us through this whole situation and why you obviously went on the mission, and just take us through your faith in that aspect.
Yeah, I would love to. Um, so just to paint a little picture for everybody, um, who I was for 2 years. I was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I went by the name Elder Johnson every single day, and I wore a black name tag on my white button-up shirt with a tie and slacks every single day. Um, and I was there to serve Jesus Christ. I was there to serve God, and I was there to serve the people of Columbus, Ohio, which plays back into that spiritual feeling that I felt when I visited Ohio State. It was very unique for me. So how you enter into the process of becoming a missionary, you have to do some paperwork and submit it to church headquarters, which is in Salt Lake City, Utah. And just as a little graphic, there are over 16 million members around the world of our church, and missions all over the world as well. So my dad served in Barcelona, Spain. My oldest brother was in Ghana, Africa. And my second brother, Spencer, who's at BYU, was in Milan, Italy. And so I was a little apprehensive to learn a language. So I put in my forms that I wanted to speak English, but I'm okay living anywhere in the world. And it was really amazing to me Um, so what happens is you send in the paperwork, and they at headquarters choose where you go. So I had no say in where I was going. So it was amazing to me when I felt that spiritual feeling that Ohio State was not my place to play basketball, as it was my place to serve the people in another way. Because if I had committed there to play basketball, I would not have the opportunity to be there on my mission. And so that was just like a really cool testament to me. Um, and as I prepared to go on my mission, I had obviously let my coaches here know what that was all about, and they were on board, which was something else that I really, really loved and appreciated. And that's another common factor between those top four schools, is all of them were a-okay with it. They loved the idea of me being able to go out and progress and grow. And so I, as a 18-year-old kid, just graduated high school, left to become a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and to teach people about what we call the restored gospel of Jesus Christ, as well as the Book of Mormon. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I didn't want to go, which is unique. I think a lot of people in my church are sometimes afraid to say that because it's not a social norm. But I'm completely okay and honest and open about I did not want to go. But my two older brothers went, and my dad went, and I was the last brother. And I didn't want to be kind of the black sheep of the family. In my mind, my parents supported my decision if I didn't want to go. They said, that's your choice. We don't believe that it's a requirement to go to heaven to go on a mission. So I still, I still would be a-okay if I didn't. Nobody's forced to. It's our choice. But I knew that, one, I didn't feel like I wanted to be a disappointment for my family, and two, as I kind of talked about earlier, it would be so beneficial for me, selfishly, for basketball, because I think my family's a little bit late bloomers. And so if I had 2 years to be able to come back, and now I'm a 21-year-old freshman, that just gives me that much more of a little step up on those other kids just coming out of high school. But what I didn't anticipate was, as I got there and I made my focus about Jesus Christ and about God and his children, how my life changed. I am very grateful for the opportunity that I had to serve a mission. I didn't always like it, but it is the best thing that I could have done for myself. It taught me a lot about people and about myself. I grew in so many ways, maturity-wise, as well as I learned a lot about myself, and that I needed a lot more humility. And that's something that I hope to carry on here, is to always appreciate what I'm being given and appreciate the people around me. And so kind of just a little logistics as well, is what happens is every 6 weeks out there, they have what is called a transfer. And so what happens is you get there and you're with another missionary who you've probably never met or known in your entire life, and you're thrown together and you need to be with each other 24/7. They want constant eyes on each other to be able to help keep each other safe, because there are enemies of the church out there, people who might want to do us harm or do the church harm. And so we're with somebody 24/7. So being from, okay, I can go drive my car by myself and go get Taco Bell, to we have so many different rules. We have to be with somebody 24/7. There were so many things that I had to adjust to. But something else that I think is really unique is I had never read the Book of Mormon until I got on my mission, which is crazy because that's what we teach people about. And for those of you watching who do not know, the Book of Mormon is what I believe to be another testament of Jesus Christ. It is a partner scripture with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that God obviously loves all of his children, and he's got children all over the earth. And the Bible is a testament of Jesus Christ and his ministry in the Old Testament and the New Testament, how he helped the children of God on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes place mostly around Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. And the Book of Mormon happens around the same timeline as the Bible. And because God loves all of his children, obviously he would like to bless all of his children. He loves us all equally, no matter what we do, where we live, who we are, what we speak, what we believe. And the Book of Mormon takes place in the Americas and talks about how God communicated to his children there through prophets, just like the same in the Bible. And I was able to teach people about that and why it's so important to be able to have that second witness. Just it changed my life so much when I actually took it seriously, because I didn't want to go on a mission, and because I kind of went to church to make my mom happy every Sunday. But to be able to now go on a mission and say, either I go home now because I don't want to be here anymore, and I got to throw myself into the workouts at college, and I got to set myself up to try to just go be the selfish, get what I can get out on the court and try to go to the NBA. And luckily I stuck it out because I learned so much. And then as I gained that relationship with God, I was able to have my eyes opened a lot about people as well. The people that I met in Ohio will always have a special place in my heart. And even though I miss the mountains a lot, I love Ohio. And I'm glad to be back. But I am so grateful for the experience that I had out there as a missionary.
Now, in terms of the basketball aspect, like we know that there are some obviously guys that are of the Mormon faith and the LDS that have played the game. Obviously, the most recognizable one is Jimmy Fredette, but we see guys like Jabari Parker's come out there, and there's some other college guys too. But how do you balance that? Because I know obviously you guys have a lot of different stuff about obviously Sundays, pretty much staying home. I know some guys still are able to go through AAU tournaments, some still do play later on. Like, how have you learned to kind of balance your basketball life with your faith?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So obviously we believe in the 10 Commandments as well, and keep the Sabbath day holy.
Mm-hmm.
One thing in which a lot of people have kind of their own personal interpretations, and that's completely okay.
Mm-hmm.
Our church encourages us to pray about things and to have our own opinion on things. Obviously, we have our doctrine, but a basketball tournament on the weekend is up to you. And so I decided through AAU that I was going to play on Sundays. I still, if I had the opportunity to, in the mornings, would go to church, even if that meant in my sweatsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And in here, every single Sunday, I get dressed up and go to church. And practices, I'll still practice on Sundays if need be. And I'll still play on Sundays if need be. But I'm still going to try to make it to church. And that's something that I love about Zoom now, too, because that gives an extra thing. When we travel, I can still attend my church here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think having that belief gives me a lot of base and a lot of founding for my life, that I didn't just get here and get tossed around by pop culture and by what a college athlete should be doing, because all college athletes have done this.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of cool to be a little bit odd in a innocent sense. I'm not oblivious. I choose innocence. And so that's kind of cool to be able to be that kind of a guy that is a little bit different. And I hope to be able to let other people know that it can be done. You can go on a mission. You don't have to go on a mission. You can still be an amazing person, no matter where you are, what people are surrounded with. And I hope to show that every single day with the people I interact with.
And also, like you said, you kind of looked at it as a basketball aspect in a way too. It did help grow you. But I know you guys are obviously constantly spreading the word. You guys are constantly moving around. Like you said, not even being able to contact too many family and friends all but one day. So in terms of working on your game, like how often were you able to practice, if any? Like how did you manage to stay in shape, stay working on your craft so that you're able to come out here and play? Or were you even able to really work on your game much?
Yeah. Well, there's a schedule every single day.
Hmm.
So missionary schedules, no matter what day it is, um, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Hmm.
you wake up at 6:30. And whether it's a holiday, you're up at 6:30. No matter what, you're up at 6:30 and you're in bed by the latest 10:30, earliest 9. Um, and so we would wake up at 6:30 and have 30 minutes in the morning to do whatever workouts. But a little dampening on that is we're only allowed to lift 25 pounds because at a time, because obviously liability for the church. If somebody gets hurt lifting weights, the church is liable for that because we're a missionary for them. We're representing them in the name. And so insurance wise, they would just like us to lift 25 pounds maximum. So I did a lot of push-ups and a lot of air squats. And then that one day a week was usually our Monday, which is a preparation day is what it's called, is our day to go shopping. That's our day to communicate with family. That's our day to do our laundry, to do the cleaning up around the house. And obviously, you do the dishes when they need to be done and stuff like that throughout the week. We usually save things mostly for that one preparation day so that we can be focused on our purpose as missionaries throughout the rest of the week. And so, something really nice about a lot of LDS churches is that they have basketball courts in them. That was a really big blessing to me because every single Monday, me and my companion or the other missionary that was with me, we would go to the church. And luckily, the ones who weren't as athletically inclined were very obliged to let me go and mess around a bit on the basketball court and just take the time that I needed. Um, and I know one thing for sure is that even though I, um, even though I didn't have the most opportunity to practice basketball throughout those 2 years, because I put God first in my life, I know that He'll bless me for it as I'm here, and I have complete faith in that and complete faith in Him. So I'm here and I'm back now and I'm ready. I'm ready to get my work on.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's hop into the season now to wrap this up. Obviously, you guys are coming off of, once again, another successful tournament run, a successful overall year for Oregon, and with Coach Altman's bit out there. Take us through how you're feeling. I know this roster is nowhere near set yet. There's still going to be some moving pieces. With recently, I guess, added a guy in Quincy who's going to be spectacular as well. Just take us through this roster of the guys you see right now. Quincy, as just mentioned, Nathan Bittle is coming out there, including some of the returners like N'Faly, Dante's going to be there. There's a lot of different guys on this roster currently. How excited for this team?
I'm so pumped. The guys that we have here are studs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my roommate is Frank Kepnon. The dude is a beast.
Mm-hmm.
He he is a tank, a 6'11" tank. We have so much skill and so much athletic ability um, that, as well as coming in with Nate Bittle, 5-star, just got announced as a McDonald's All-American and just got invited to the Jordan Brand Classic, as well as Davion Harmon, who's coming in, very skilled point guard, and Quincy Guerrier, very athletic, plus Waldo Rivera, I think is his
Mm-hmm.
name,
Yep.
JUCO Player of the Year. Like the guys that we have here are incredible. Luke War, super athletic, 6'8", 6'9". Dante, obviously, N'Faly Dante, super cool guy and very athletic. He's obviously coming back from a little bit of knee recovery. When he gets back, man, our team is going to be lethal. I am excited for what's coming, especially with some returning. Our team is definitely young, but we have a lot of experience. I think at the guard spot with Davion, as well as Will, Eric Williams, and I'm just excited to get going and get into practice, get in shape, and see what kind of weapons we have in our repertoire and what we can what we can develop on top of it. It's gonna be a blast.
Now, there's two coaches in program that's really all of a sudden like really turned to the love of these big. You guys are 7 foot plus guys. I know Coach Hamilton down there out there in Florida State always loves having 3, 4, 7 footers on the team. Coach Altman's the one on the West Coast doing that, and like you said, and Folly Dante, we know he's around that 7 foot. Nathan Bittle is 7 foot 7'1". You're right around 7 foot. Quincy, I think 6'10", 6'11". Like you guys have a lot of bigs, and in the modern day, just listing those heights out, then people might say, well, how's it all going to work? You guys are all quote unquote power forward center. But that's also what makes you guys a little bit more unique because you're a guy that, yes, you're tall and you can call yourself center, power forward, but you can bring the ball up. You have ball handling skills. You can run a 3, you can run a 4, 5. Like all that kind of comes into play for a lot of you guys. But trying to take us through your way, you're seeing this. Like, how do you think that you, Biddle, all you guys are going to kind of work together and form a team with as many quote unquote big men on the team?
Mm-hmm. Our offensive tools are going to be starts because of the length that we have as well as the defensive side. There's a lot of length. There's a lot of athleticism. We're going to be able to stretch the floor out very well, over the top of defenses, pass over the top of presses. And I think as we develop and become more mature working together as a team, defensively and offensively, we're going to have so many tools just to come at teams in whatever aspect they may have. And it's going to be very exciting to get everybody here. And I am looking forward to see who we can become. It's going to be a blast.
Now we do know the entire college world's constantly changing now. Obviously the transfer rule moved on and made a lot of guys change different scenarios. Like this college world is changing right now. And from your 2019 class, just 2 years ago, and Foley's the only one remaining out of that top 10 ranked recruiting class. Obviously, in yourself, but obviously you have CJ moved on. Addison Patterson's moving on now. Chandler, like the whole guys that you kind of formed a bond with to a degree in that recruiting class is not there anymore. So, like, what's your thoughts on it? Like, were you kind of shocked to see these guys move on? Did you know about them? Like, just walk us through how you kind of reacted to the way the class has panned out.
I think for me, I just kind of had a mindset of I'm a 2021. I'm a 20 grad high school wise, but a 2021 freshman. And so I was just keeping my eye on the sophomore class, really. Guys that are here are really good guys. Dante, the one that I graduated with, really good guy. And he helps me out a lot with, I think I connect really well with him because we graduated the same year, but he's been here for 2 years. And so we're able to connect on that side of things. And I think mostly though, I just kind of internalized that I was a 2021. So like, even though I was a senior, I was almost like a sophomore. It was kind of funky, but I'm excited to get Nathan Bittle here. I think his graduation is this week. And start summer term in a week or 2, 3, I don't know. And so it's pretty exciting to see how we're going to piece it all together and to see what's turning in Coach Altman's head.
So you got to go a little bit deeper into Coach Altman. Clearly, we all know him now. He's one of, if not the better coaches in the entire country. He's been dominating the Pac-12, gets his teams to the tournament, and also creates pros, which is a huge part too. But what makes Coach Altman so special? You've got to be around him a little bit now that you're on campus, but like just his personality, just getting to talk to him, just seeing from what you see from him in terms of him coaching games, like what makes Coach Altman so special?
The way that he sees the game of basketball is unique. I don't think I have a full grasp on it yet, and I don't know if I ever will. But he has a very special eye for basketball. And just even the little practices that I've been able to do with him. And not only the way that he sees basketball, but also the way that he helps teams be able to become teams. I think last year, especially in the tournament, the guys really figured out how to mesh together and become a team. So not just the way that he acts on the basketball court, but also the way that he helps us to become good people off of it. And also a fun fact about Coach Altman, in all of his past 30 whatever years of coaching, he can count on his hand the amount of technical fouls he's gotten as a head coach. So that's also incredible.
Mhm. Without a doubt, man. Well, a few more things before I let you go. One thing is that I was like rapper discussing your legacy, and obviously everyone wants to be remembered for something by the time they're done playing this game. So when that day does come, you walk away from the game of basketball. What do you ultimately want to be remembered for what you achieve both on and off the court?
On the court, I want to be remembered as a good sport, a good player. I don't ever really want to be one of those guys who's a head case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if anybody really does, but I want to be a good role model for people, for players who are coming up, to be able to look at somebody who's different and notice that it's okay to be different, and being different, being unique,
Mm-hmm.
something that people look for, something that people cherish, um, and it's desirable. So those young players who are out there, be unique.
Mm-hmm.
Take whatever you can on the court, um, even if it seems like an odd thing, and use it as an advantage. Um, Off the court, I want to be known as just a good guy. Um, I think a lot of players are good guys at heart, but there's obviously a stigma, stereotype around athletes, uh, and I don't want to fit that mold whatsoever. Um, I want to be compassionate and kind to people. I recognize that no matter if you're the janitor or my head coach, you are worth the same as a human. And so I want to help people realize, no matter who they are, where they're from, what language they speak, what they believe in religiously, and whatever else their values and morals are politically, that we're all humans, and we're all worth the same. And um, that worth does not change. Um, and just, I want to be a good guy. I want people to be able to walk away from an interaction from me, having a better day than the one that they started. So hopefully we can get it done.
Absolutely, man. Well, my last thing before I let you go now, give Oregon fans your three biggest goals you have set for your Oregon career.
Oh, shoot. National championship,
Mm-hmm.
um, Pac-12 championship,
Mm-hmm.
and um, oh shoot, this next one is a little tougher. The third one, making every single game worth it, because they have had a big break for 2 years not being able to be in Matthew Night.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people have seen that court in person. Nice fir trees. People need to be back in there. We're excited to have a fan base back this fall, so to make every single game that they attend and come watch worth it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm excited to see what God got next for you, man. I appreciate you taking my come on today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this as well.
Absolutely, man. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
God bless you too.